Super, thank you. So first of all, I hope everybody had an amazing time celebrating our 250th. It was spectacular. And just a reminder, the fun does not end. Don't forget, we are going to have our own Freedom 250 Fairfax County Gala on September 19th. So that information is up on our website, and there's also a flyer about it over there. So keep that in mind. I am so delighted that so many of you have turned out to listen to our 3 Senate candidates. Before I get started, though, I want to just briefly welcome some of our other candidates who are here today. So I think I saw Tony Savio. Tony, are you here?
Yes.
Okay. You all know is running for Congress in the 8th District. I also saw Arthur Purvis. Thank you, Arthur. Running in the 11th District, and I'd also like to welcome Patty Lyman, our RNC National Committee. Do we have any other candidates here? Anybody want to be a candidate? Okay, super. And I also want to say a special thank you to Rosie Oakley, our fearless vice president. Does a ton of work and never wants the glory, but we got to give her some glory. So all right, I want to welcome our 3 candidates, who hopefully you know them all by name now: Bert Mizusawa, Kim Farington, and David Lee. All right, so let me tell you how this is going to go, so you know what to expect. They will each be making a 3-minute opening statement. And then we are going to go into a series of slightly longer form questions. I am going to ask you, and I'll repeat this, we're going to ask you to keep your responses to 2 minutes. I'm not going to encourage rebuttals, but if anybody feels strongly compelled to make a rebuttal, you may make a brief rebuttal. We will then go to short form questions, just, boom, 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 knock out a few questions, 1 minute max answer, and then we will leave time at the end to open it up for some audience questions, and then we will have 2-minute closing statements, all right? And I think what we're going to do is, for all of it except the 1 minute, the super short form questions, I'm going to have each of you come up to the podium, just because it's easier to speak from here. So for this particular round of opening, I'm just going to take you in the order in which you're standing here. We'll shake up the order as time goes by, but for now, for the opening statements, Bert, may I welcome you to the podium?
Well, first of all, thanks for coming out. I mean, it is a weekend. I know everybody's got other things to do on the weekend, hopefully. I'm the hometown guy here. I've been living in McLean for 27 years. I've been living in Virginia since 1966. I've been part of this community. I want to introduce my wonderful wife, Amy. Raise your hand, Amy. My 95-year-old mother-in-law, Marilyn. Raise your hand. I hate to out her, but she's a lifelong Democrat, but she's definitely voting for Bert. So, I woke up to some sad news. I knew Senator Lindsey Graham. It was a shock to me. I did work for his predecessor, who had been in the Senate for 50 years, so I got to know Lindsey when he first entered the Senate in 2003. The last time I actually saw him was in Afghanistan. We had a great talk, and I didn't mean to reach out because he has supported me in the past. I have supported him as well. But he had his own primary. So I think it's a very sad day. I think he was a stalwart in foreign policy. I hope to, in a certain measure, be able to replace him as one of the national security experts, given my background. I grew up in Hampton Roads, as I mentioned, and I'm from the 2 most populated parts of the state. Hampton Roads is second most, and Fairfax County and the rest of Northern Virginia is by far the largest, most populated part of the state. So one of the cardinal rules of politics is the person who gets the most votes wins. It should be the person who gets the most legitimate votes wins. That's a work in progress, but I'm a guy that's not only knows the two most populated parts of the state, but I am also pretty well known in both of these parts. So my family, I was one of 6 kids. My dad's from Hawaii originally. My mother was from Amsterdam. And we grew up all over the place. I was an Air Force brat. They settled in Virginia. I was the first person in my family to ever attend college. I knew I had to work hard to set a standard. I ended up graduating first in my class at West Point out of over 1,400 cadets. That got me off to a pretty good military career. They promoted me through the ranks up to 2-star general. I had 4 combat tours. As a result of some notoriety, I had disagreements with the Obama White House. I was asked to come on board as one of Trump's senior campaign advisors in the area of foreign policy and national security. So I was very proud to do that. I was a lead on national security. My last job in the government, I was Trump's appointee at the CIA. He asked me to go there because he needed some help with the agency, and I was proud to do that as well. So at this point, I told people I spent a lot of time with Donald Trump during the race, and I am the Trump guy in this race, and we've had some issues, and I said, if you like Trump, I'm definitely your guy. If you don't like Trump, I'm still your guy, because at least he listens to me. Sure the hell is going to listen to Mark Warner. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, America First Patriots. Yeah, I am Kim Farington, and I also am running for U.S. Senate. I am a CPA. I'm a small business owner that has a company that specializes in cybersecurity and financial management. I'm an inventor. I invented a USB storage case, and I actually hold 3 patents for my invention. I am also the wife of a retired Navy captain. And for those of you who like your guns, I am the daughter of parents that used to own one of the largest gun stores in Texas. I'm running for U.S. Senate because Washington is broken and I know how to fix it. I actually spent 33 years in federal service, and I have seen throughout my career so much fraud and so many inefficiencies that I just got tired of not being able to make change. It is time for change. And I actually retired early from my career, from my federal service, just to run for U.S. Senate to get that fraudulent taxpayer dollars that are going to the fraudsters. I'm going to fight to get that back for you. That's my job, and that's what I'll do as your next Virginia CPA. So many times we send not all but a handful of elected officials up to Washington, and they know how to spend the money, but they don't know how to follow it, like myself and like the handful of CPAs that have been in the Senate over the last 50 years. So I am going to hold programs accountable, and I'm going to follow the money, and I'm going to make sure that your money is being used properly, and I'm all about transparency as well. I want to make sure that you know where your money is going. And again, my goal is to get after that fraud that I have seen throughout my career and get that back for you. And the reason why I am the best candidate here is because I have worked with Democrats and Republicans alike and independents. We all saw the fraud. I'm the one that's actually going to lead the effort to fix that, and that's how I'm going to get the Democrat and independent votes that we need to beat Mark Warner. Last midterm, he only won by 0.8%. 37% of independents are not happy with him. 12% of Democrats are not happy with him. I'm going to get those votes. We're going to get money back for you. We're going to stop those fraudsters, hold programs accountable, and I will be Virginia's CPA and get that money back in your wallets and purses. Thank you.
How's everyone doing today?
Great.
All right. Well, it's good to see everyone. My name is David Williams, running for U.S. Senate here in Virginia. Proud father of 3, and then my lovely wife here, Tony. Please wave your hand. So, for my career, I started out enlisted in the Navy. Any Navy? No Navy? Yes. All right, there we go. And then I went into the Marine Corps, became a Marine Corps officer, infantry officer. And then from there, I went on to the State Department to refine my ways and to become more diplomatic, to become a U.S. diplomat. And then from there on to the CIA, where I served as a case officer and chief of station in some of the worst places in our country, or in our world here. And so, why did I do it? Well, because I love America. I love our country, and it is the greatest nation on the face of the earth. But then when I got back, I started seeing how far left our country was going. And we're seeing that the socialist ideology is starting to pick up and catch root here. And we must stop that. And so I was so concerned about that because I've seen what socialism and communism does to other countries. And so that is why I jumped into the race, because I know that America is better than that, and we're going to continue to be the shining light on the mountain, on the hill. And so, what we're looking at, does anyone know the last time we won a Senate race? What year it was? 2002. 2002. And why is that? Because we haven't had the right candidates. We keep doing the same thing over and over again and thinking that we're going to get different results. What is the definition of that? Same. So, the last election between Hunk Out and Kane, we were down by 400,000 votes. And that was a strong military leader. But we have to get the votes. We have to get the independent votes. We have to get the minority votes. These are hard numbers that we have to get after. And we have to look at this strategically. Who's going to be able to bring those numbers over? And so when you ask yourself, do we want to win elections, which we have to win? The last meeting I had with President Trump, I met him twice to let him know that we were ready. And the second was to let him know how we're doing. And he said one thing that really resonated with me. He said we have to make some noise, Virginia. We have to make some noise. And that is how we're going to get the resources. That is how we're going to get the votes. And that is how we're going to retire Mark Warner in November. Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Okay, first question, and I'm going to go in reverse order this time. So come on over.
Right.
I'm going to ask you to try to keep your answer to 2 minutes. All right. Virginia has a large federal workforce and contractor base in Northern Virginia. How would you reform federal spending and bureaucracy without harming Virginia's economy or national security missions?
All right, that is a great question. So as a government worker, I have spent many years protecting my country and fighting for this country, which a lot of us continue to do on a day-to-day basis. And so we have to respect and build that culture and build that industry, and we will do so. But, however, on the other hand, we have a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse coming out of D.C. that we have to cut. It is a $38 trillion debt right now. That is the biggest national security threat to our nation. And so, how do we cut that? We have to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. We have to go into and cut the improper payments to Medicaid. And then we're seeing, we're paying foreign aid to countries that we don't have, or that don't have an interest in America. And so we have to cut that as well. And by doing and making these smart cuts, we will be able to bring back the roaring economy of America. And that is what people are suffering. When you talk to the everyday American, they're suffering because of these out of control spending that you're seeing come out of DC. And they just need some of that relief. And that is what we're looking to get those individuals, those hardworking families and those small businesses, the relief that they need in order to prosper here in America. Thank you.
So I can relate to so many in this question. And that is because I've been a federal employee, as I mentioned, for 33 years. And my company is also a small government contracting company. So when I entered the GovCon space, I actually learned so much more than I ever knew firsthand about acquisition. That I worked on acquisition and procurements when I was a federal employee, but wow, what a difference it makes when you're on the other side of the table. So what I want to do, and I had planned on doing this when I first announced 20 months ago, is working on acquisition reform, because I think the processes are too involved in acquisition right now, and we need to clean that up. It needs to be streamlined. Also, when I worked for the White House, I mentioned I'm going after fraud and inefficiencies. I found inefficiencies in government. I found some in the Department of Defense, and they were recognized by the Secretary himself. So much so that he gave me an Exceptional Civilian Service Medal, the highest medal for civilians, in the Department of Defense, now war, because of my efforts. And that's why the White House asked me to come up to the White House and make those efficiencies that I did at Defense and make them federal government-wide. And that's where I already saved you over $1 billion of your taxpayer dollars. So what I want to do on that efficiencies side of the House, I want to continue to make those efficiencies that I know need to be made to the systems, to the processes, and to help those current people, those government employees that are working there now, help them do their job better, faster, easier, with automation, with innovation. We shouldn't be using 45-year-old systems this day to run our government. So that's how I'm going to work with government employees and support them, as well as the government contractors.
So that question gets squarely at our federal budget, how we appropriate our taxpayer dollars, and being able to follow the money. So in this area particularly, it's highly influenced by our federal budget. If you look at a big circle, over half of that pie is going to be pretty much entitlements. It can't be touched. It's kind of like the third rail. Out of that other half, actually it's more, less than a half, the bulk of it's going to be payments on the interest and defense. And unfortunately, our interest payments have just exceeded our defense spending. If you study history, there's no nation that can maintain its preeminence when that happens. So we have to reverse it. We have to get our debt under control. We do have to lower interest rates. But we have to manage that portion of the money that does not include the mandatory spending, only the discretionary part of the budget, because the bulk of that is a defense. You should have somebody there with a defense background. Not only do I have a strong defense background, I'm the only one here who's worked in the Senate. I understand appropriations. But more than that, when I was a major general in Afghanistan, one of my functions was counter-corruption. Follow the money. You think following the money is hard here in the States? Try to do it while the firing edge. And there was a lot of that money was not going to where it was supposed to go. So I actually wrote Donald Trump's foreign policy. It was called the Trump Doctrine, and it got published right before the 2016 election. And USA Today retitled it, Trump Foreign Policy Favors U.S. Taxpayers. And so we know all about following the money. The president has a fiduciary duty. As elected representatives, we'll have fiduciary duties to make sure your taxpayer dollars are going towards your intended purpose. And one thing we need to do is digitize. When you digitize the flow of money, it's much easier to trace it and to hold it accountable. And that's one lesson I learned in Afghanistan. That's one thing we should do here. Thank you.
you, Kim. Then I'm going to go to Bert and go to David. Data centers are booming in Virginia, but they strain power grids and water resources. What federal role, if any, should there be in regulating or incentivizing them? And how do you balance tech growth with rural and residential concerns?
So, how many of you have a cell phone in the room? Quite a few of you. Well, let me tell you that if we don't have data centers, you don't have your cell phone. And data centers, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Data centers are also so critical to our national security. And I can tell you firsthand by working at the Department of Defense, I've seen it. And working for the First Responder Network Authority, the FirstNet Authority, I saw it. It was a $100 billion program that I was a chief financial officer for, and it basically kept our not only our first responders safe and secure, but it also protected our borders. So national security is critical, and so are your cell phones. I am for data centers, however, not the way they're being built now. When I worked for the White House, I actually worked with the United States Chief Information Officer on data center consolidation. I saw model data centers you cannot see from the roads. They were beautiful, they were efficient, they were great. Let's build those data centers. And the way I approach those is by using micronuclear reactors to create the energy source so that you don't have to get the bill from these data centers, because they're using 26% of the energy for these data centers. So let's use micronuclear reactors, which have been used on Navy ships since 1950s. Let's also use recyclable water to make sure that they use that to cool the data centers. But let's make sure these monstrosities don't continue to pop up as they are. Let's use the models that I've already seen in government and for the data centers across Virginia.
All right, so the issue with the data centers, especially in the rural areas, which I've been traveling around and speaking to those good folks, is that they don't want their energy prices nor their water prices to go up, which they are. And so how do we respond to that? Because we do understand that AI is a $1 trillion industry, and it's already left the station. So we need to embrace that while also making sure we keep the rural character of Southwest Virginia, Shenandoah Valley. And that is what they're worried about. And so when we talk to them, we have to make sure they understand that they will not be obligated, one, if they don't want a data center in those locations, it shouldn't be federally regulated that they get it. That is not what the government does. So that's the first thing. However, if they do want one of those data centers, then how do we make sure that they are self-sufficient, that they're paying for their own energy? So like we said, we could use SMRs, small modular reactors, and other type of energy, so we ensure that it is not pulling from our grid. And so we have talked in depth about that, and they are, some of them want it, some of them don't. But like I said, the federal government shouldn't dictate that they must get one of those data centers in their towns. And so we will continue to fight that battle. I will continue to represent those areas because it is so important, and they feel like they are underrepresented. And Richmond just tells them what they're going to do, and we have to stop that. Thank you.
AI is coming, folks, all right? We told you anything different, it'd be a disservice to you. AI is coming. I've heard about artificial intelligence since the 1980s, but I can tell you now it's accelerating to the point where we can no longer ignore it. It'd be like if I got up here in 1990 or 1995 and told you to prepare for the internet coming, and you ignored that. You would ignore it to your own detriment. So we need responsible leaders that can ensure that we manage this new technology in a way that people benefit from it without having to suffer the undue cost, disproportionate cost for it. So number one, I think that Washington and Richmond should not be making decisions that affect local communities that would be there at the cost. On the other hand, I want local communities to understand that we cannot afford, as a matter of national security, to lose this AI race to China. There is some information out there. I want to keep America ahead at all times, especially with potential adversaries. There's information out there that the Chinese and the Russians and the usual suspects are spreading disinformation. One example is the use of water. It's a closed-loop system, okay? It's going to use some water, but I don't think it's going to continue to draw more water. Electricity cost is a real concern, but in the end, the federal government needs to figure out a place to put them. The local communities should have a veto on it. Because if they don't want them there because of the noise, the aesthetics, or whatever have you, we should respect that decision. On the other hand, we should make sure that all the costs that that community bears, along with the benefits, because there's going to be some jobs out there, they're transparent and it's a knowledgeable decision. And so, in general, I support it as a matter of national security. I would never impose it on a local government. And so I would give local communities the veto right to make sure they don't go there, and we'll figure out another place to put them. But in the end, we're going to need to manage this appropriately. Thank you so much.
All right. If you win the primary on August 4th, how will you finance your campaign, and what is your strategy to win? And I'm going to start with Bert.
Did you bring your checkbook? Anytime anybody asks me about financing, I said, you bring your checkbook, and they go, I said, well, so now you see the challenge. Okay, now you see the challenge. All right, a little bit of, I mean, that's a tough one. And whenever people ask me about my strategy, I honestly say, I'm a student of strategy. I was a MacArthur Fellow at Harvard University, doctor work on strategy. I did strategy in the United States Senate, and it's true. Whenever you disclose your strategy publicly, it's no longer a decent strategy. It's like being a football coach. You have a team, everybody knows your team. They kind of know what offense you run, but you're not going to hand your playbook and what you're going to do in any particular scenario. So obviously, one issue, I wouldn't have gotten in this race if I didn't think I could win. Okay? I'm not a dummy. I'm not going to spend my family's money on a non-winnable race. I admit we needed a black swan, or some black ducklings, if you will. I think the referendum showed the Democrats' hand. No matter how they coach in their nice language what they're trying to do, it was extremely unfair. Even CNN said what they were trying to do to gerrymander our state was in the extreme. So the other issue with my opponent in the general election, Mark Warner, and I met with him before he ran the first time. Some of you might remember he ran against John Warner before he ran for governor. And he said, I could run as a Democrat or as a Republican. It's much easier to run as a Democrat. And he's right. It was actually easier to run as a Democrat. You don't have to go through all the hurdles that Republican candidates do. But because he's been now running for his fourth term, he's a pretty well-known commodity. I don't think anybody's going to change the electorate's mind on who Mark Warner is. Yeah. And when people ask me what I think about Mark Warner, I said, to me it's not about Mark Warner, it's about beating Democrats. I don't care which Democrat it is, they all vote the same way. It's not a personality thing. Every dollar I raise, I will go a lot further than the dollar Mark Warner has. So I'm going to ask you all to help. And I assume, as the nominee, we'll be getting some help from national level. Patty, I assume that based on things that she said, but also things that I know.
We are a targeted state. We are one of 16. I think 17 targeted states. We're going to get extra resources.
Well, and I listen to what Patty says. And I also have confidence in President Trump coming through for our state. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I will tell you my strategy because I think you all need to know that you're going to be voting for me. So So the first thing we have to do is we have to unify the Republican Party behind our president and also behind a good candidate, period. Like I said, I've already talked to Trump. He knows that we are running. He knows that we're here. And so I'm already fighting for that national money for Virginia. Because what we're doing, or what you're seeing, is they're looking at these other states that are more competitive, like North Carolina and Maine. Well, so we saw what happened there. But those are the more competitive states, and so we have that, and this is why we have to get the right candidate out there, because, like I said, we haven't won since 2002, and at some point, the spear kind of tips to the other side, and we don't want that to happen here in Virginia. So the second thing we have to do is we have to get those independent voters, right? We are no longer a red state, unfortunately. However, there are enough independents that are very upset about the gerrymandering that went on, that 2/3 of them had already voted against back in 2020. They're upset about their Second Amendment laws. Many of them go to the range and enjoy that right, that God-given right. As a combat vet, I also believe that we should be able to protect our families and ourselves. And they're just frustrated with the 51 tax hikes that you've recently seen. And so we're going to have to get them, and then also the minority. We're always down 10%, 10 to 12%. We have to get that up to at least 16 to 20% to win here. And so that's what we're going to do. And then the last is the young votes, which we're appealing to the young crowd. We're getting them motivated and into the fight. And so we're going to continue that, and that's how we're going to beat Mark Warner. Thank you.
Hey, people on this side are having trouble hearing you, Kim, and Bert. Need to hold the mics closer.
Okay.
Are you saying that I'm loud?
Can we turn the AC down? No.
So my strategy comes down to one thing: votes. Whoever gets the most votes wins the election. Yep. And I too am, of course, taking campaign donations. So if you would like to leave any checks, I actually have envelopes on my table over there for you. But in just being straight with you, it's going to take votes, and that's why I started my campaign 20 months ago and put over 53,000 miles on my car, because I believe in listening before leading. And I've been to Southwest 16 times alone. So I am traveling across the Commonwealth, listening to the issues, and already drafting legislation to make the changes that everybody's telling me about. That's how I'm going to get the votes. And as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to Northern Virginia, I can relate to so many federal employees and the government contractors. We all need just efficiencies in government. I know where those efficiencies can be made. All the people I worked with know that efficiencies need to be made, and they are so excited that I am running so that I can make the change that we all wanted and go after that fraud that we all saw, that we all know it's not right. So I'm running on common sense and getting votes, and it is working for me. I even have independents saying they're going to vote for me. I also have Democrats telling me that, I'm Democrat, right? And I'd say, yes, I do know you're Democrat. Well, don't tell anybody, so I won't tell you their name, but don't tell anybody, but I actually voted for you. So I'm like, that's how we win. That's how we totally trounce Mark Warner.
Okay, so we all know that we have 3 major constitutional amendments that are going to be on the ballot this November. So we think the Democrats in particular are going to use the abortion amendment to drive out their voters. How will you respond to that?
Well, I say let them bring it on, because I think we Republicans are also going to get out to vote in November, especially with these amendments. I will be voting no on all 3 amendments. It makes no sense, any of the amendments that are up there. And just to highlight one in particular that I really think people aren't really thinking about as much as we should be, and that is the amendment to allow ex-convicts to vote, to get their voting rights back. So can you imagine a convict gets his voting rights back, which then he or she can then sit on a jury. Can you imagine having having a murderer in the jury, and do you think that they're going to if they are in a trial and a jury for a murder case, that they're going to uphold that murder? No, I don't think so. So I think it's very important, and truly, we need to get out and vote no on all 3 amendments. But please read the amendments for yourself so you understand what you're voting for. But I can tell you, and I will share with you if you would like, I'll talk to you about the amendments after this. But vote no on all 3 amendments, in my opinion. I will be.
So I'm going to do a little something here. I'm going to get a little vulnerable with you all. So I was born, because you asked about the abortion. So I was born a year after it became legal here. And so my biological father is not interested. My mother was. And thank God that she was. And so when people start to judge folks on their position, listen to their stories. When you look at abortion, over 40% are African American women.
Yes.
When we only make up 14%. And so the loudest people, it's interesting, the liberals on the far left are the loudest people that are talking about women's rights. What about the humanity in that? Where is the humanity in that? We must debate, we must talk to individuals, we must talk to people about why that is. And so that is for me, that is a big issue for me. However, after 2022, we know that it's now with the state. So state makes that decision. However, I will always be pro-life. And I will begin with this. So the Democrats are really trying to pull the wool over our eyes, because you saw in the last election with the ballot, the writing, and the way that they're explaining things, and it's the same thing that they're doing again. And so the issue, what we must do as Republicans and as just concerned citizens, is talk to people, educate them on these topics, which I have been doing, and that is why we are starting to get a lot of the momentum, because we're just talking common sense, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yes, we did learn a key lesson in April and February, March, April, when the Democrats crafted this language for the referendum, the constitutional amendment on redistricting. And their use of language was so extremely biased and just untrue, and I could use any other word, it's kind of a lie, that it's convinced a lot of people that you cannot trust the Democrat leadership in Richmond to call things the way they are. So, number one, I suspect there's an ulterior motive for each one of the 3 amendments. We get into each one of them, but just take one for an example. The gay marriage amendment is totally unnecessary. All we have to do is get rid of section 15.1 and article 1 to bring it in compliance with the United States Supreme Court decision. We I also recognize that a lot of these issues that we're dealing with here in Virginia now have already been kind of determined by the United States Supreme Court. I helped Trump get elected. I knew that he was going to be instrumental in getting new Supreme Court justices there. I'm very proud to say one of them, Neil Gorsuch, was my summer intern in 1991 when I was working as an attorney. He, along with Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh, have done the right thing for Second Amendment rights and for pro-life. They finally got rid of Roe v. Wade that had been the law of the land for over 50 years. So, number one, I'm going to vote no on all of them. I will encourage you all to vote no on them. And I mentioned that we needed black swan or some black ducklings. Well, after the referendum on redistricting, which drew out a lot of conservatives and Republicans to vote against it, it shows how strong we are. I'm expecting that these 3 amendments being on the ballot, along with me being at the top of the ballot, hopefully, the Republicans, will draw out enough conservative voters to turn them all down and also to put me in the United States Senate as your senator. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, how are you different from Mark Warner? And how would you distinguish yourself?
Well, I'm actually going to work. I think Mark Warner, apparently he used to be moderate and he used to get things done for Virginia. But now he's not. He has TDS and he is just sitting in his car making videos about President Trump. And it is really sad when you really look at it. I asked myself, what was the last policy that he made for Virginia? Besides shutting down the government over voting 13 times, shut the government down. I had Marines, so like I said, I'm a Marine. I had Marines that were suffering through that, couldn't pay their rent. Sir, what do we do? And that was just so frustrating for me to look them in the eyes and to know that Mark Warner voted 13 times while all the while he was getting paid, right? And I think they even took a vacation somewhere in there. And so we're going to hold him to the fire on that. We're going to make sure that every Northern Virginia, the contractors, the federal employees, the military folks here, that they know what Mark Warner did to hold them out there. And so we're going to continue to fight this fight. Like I said, I think that he's not coming up against any of the craziness that's coming out in Richmond, so that's going to really bite him come November. And so this is our year, and this is why I tell you it's so important that we get someone that's going to be able to bring in those independent voters, because they're going to look for somebody that they can vote for. And we need to get the minority vote as well, because like I said, 12%, we always get around 12%. So how do we break that, get 15%? And that's what we're going to do. Thank you.
Well, first of all, how am I different from Warner? I know how to add. He committed to 2 terms, just running 2 terms, and he's going for his 4th. I already signed a pledge to run only for 2 terms. But hey, let's take the number of years he has. 17 years in U.S. Senate at the federal level. Well, guess what? Almost double that. I have almost double the experience that Mark Warner has. With my 33 years of government service, it was all at that federal level. So I will have 0 learning curve when I get into the U.S. Senate. And what has Mark done for us lately? Good question, right? 99.8% of the people I ask can't say that he's done anything for them. One lady did say that he showed up for a women's conference, but then she went on to say how he was mansplaining to them. And then I had another lady that said that he showed up for her son's Eagle Scout graduation. ceremony. I expect more from my U.S. Senator, and I can tell you he was not there for small businesses either. When me and 12 other small businesses from Virginia went up to the Hill with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce for a scheduled meeting, Mark Warner was not there, and neither was any of his staff. So I will be there for small businesses, unlike Mark Warner. And unfortunately, I'm almost out of time, otherwise I could go on for probably hours. Thank you.
So, may I see a show of hands? How many people in here are veterans or related to veterans? Well, there you go. Thank you. Appreciate your service. And I will tell you from personal experience, it's not always the person who deploys who pays the highest price. I deployed, I had young kids at home, and the spouse left behind pays a hell of a price. My parents had 6 kids. My dad was a sergeant. He deployed numerous times during the Vietnam era. My mother, who was not even an American at the time, was left to take care of 6 kids in her own. So I applaud all the spouses, the people left behind. So thank you for that. As I mentioned, Mark Warner's not a veteran. And I definitely am. 41 years in uniform. And haven't been raised by veterans. I'm also an attorney accredited by the Veterans Administration. And I've done pro bono work for disabled veterans because it's a very convoluted process. So I've done a lot for veterans. I don't think Mark Warner could ever empathize with any of that. Secondly, I mentioned I'm from Hampton Roads, the most operational military area in the whole nation. I'm from Northern Virginia, the most administratively populated military part in Virginia. He doesn't have that background. I'm also, by the way, a civil service retiree. And a lot of civil service retirees who are hurting, that have a lot of challenges up here in both areas. So I bring that experience. Something that people don't know. I mentioned I was a professional staff member in the United States Senate in the 90s. I was a 3-star equivalent civilian. Mark Warner was also a staff member in the Senate. The difference is after he finished his stint, he took inside information and got fabulously wealthy off of the knowledge that he picked up. I put my uniform on and I went and served in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's a big difference.
All right, I'm going to ask you all, I'm going to start with Bert, and then we'll change up the order every time. Try to keep your answer to 1 minute. How do we make Virginia more affordable without raising taxes? Just stay where you are because we're
more affordable without raising taxes. Number one, everybody has their own affordability issues. For seniors, it's basically housing and medical. For younger people, it's housing and transportation and energy. And so number one, I would basically increase the capital gains exclusion on the sale of a principal residence. I would double it. It would free up a lot of housing from our generation, people that own houses. It would depress prices for the younger generations. By the way, I'll mention on that note, America needs more babies. Okay, it's a national security issue. Exactly. I'm glad that I don't see too many young people here in the audience. Hopefully, they're home being productive. But we need to make housing more affordable by doing that. I also believe in small modular nuclear reactors. It's safer, more reliable, cheaper, and everything you would want in an energy source. And so those are my 2 affordability pleas right now.
Great, pass it over.
So I already mentioned earlier, my plan is to really support and help small businesses thrive because they make up 99.6% of all Virginia businesses. So that's the backbone of Virginia's economy. I also want to bring those manufacturing jobs to Virginia that I talked about. Since I'm an inventor and working with manufacturing, I understand the needs there. I also wanted to bring the 514,000 jobs to Virginia, setting up that cybersecurity center of excellence to not only help the younger generations who are interested in staying near their families in Virginia, but also as to help our military that is transitioning from the military to civilian life. And that 514,000 jobs could bring a lot of money to Virginia. So those three things will help us create jobs, expand the tax base, and make Virginia more affordable.
All right, so the first thing is we cut out of control spending because that's where the inflation is, and that is what the Democrats are doing. They are causing the inflation that they're saying that they're getting down. And once again, they are very disingenuous in what they're doing and how they're doing it. So the other thing is we're doing it, but we need to make sure that we compound what President Trump is doing by extending the child tax cuts. That's going to help the younger. We should be paying taxes on Social Security because that is a benefit that people have worked paid taxes their whole career, and now you're going to tax them on their Social Security. Trump is looking at doing that. However, Senator Warner is not trying to support that. And then the last thing is no tax on tips and overtime. We need to make those permanent. And that is giving people real productivity and real money in their pockets. And that we have to continue with that.
Name the first three federal programs or agencies you would cut or eliminate.
Well, because we have so many government employees, I would not cut or eliminate agencies or departments. What I do is, as I mentioned, go after the fraud and inefficiencies that I've seen across all agencies in various different programs. And one of them in particular is a $1 trillion trust fund that I used to oversee that basically paid for federal retiree benefits. Overseeing that program, I saw alleged fraud that I just could do nothing about because the laws wouldn't let me share information across agencies. I allege that if when I'm able to write that legislation to allow those agencies to share the information of that $1 trillion trust fund I oversaw, I bet you that we could get hundreds of billions of dollars back because fraudsters are taking your money, and that's what I'm going to get back, and that's how I'm not going to cut any departments or agencies, but just streamline the programs and processes and the systems within them.
Yeah, well, we have to make cuts. Like I said, 38 trillion. We are going to be able to get the waste, fraud, and abuse. There are cuts that will need to be made. Thinking of one is the Department of Education, where we bring that down. And that is the state. That should be with the state. The state is closer to our kids. They know what our kids need. It's not a one-stop shop. It's, one size does not fit all. And so we need to make sure that we do that, and then also get the school choice for parents that want to send their kids to magnet schools or to private schools. And these are things that we can absolutely do. We can do it smartly, and we can do it gradually, but we have to look at the hard cuts because 38 trillion is unsustainable by any government, and we have to get that down. Thank you.
So I think we've already made progress getting rid of USAID. I spent a lot of time overseas, as I mentioned, in combat environments. And the way we were handling Afghanistan was these things called PRTs, Provincial Reconstruction Teams. They had an organizational manning of about 90 people. Turned out that 86 of them were military. We had maybe 2 for state, USAID, and also I was also responsible for major crime. But the civilians couldn't even fill the two positions. The military had to become the diplomats, the reconstruction people. So number one, I think it was a waste of money. Number two, I don't think they were able to do anything. Department of Education. Education is a public good, and I really believe in it, but there's nothing in our Constitution, enumerated powers, that says that's a federal function. More importantly, I don't think we've improved our educational standards since the inception of that department. And so the third thing I'd like to get rid of is the DNC, but I don't think that's a government. But I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to say ODNI, the Office of Director of National Intelligence. I think it was unnecessary. If it works, I'm okay with it. But I think what's unnecessary bureaucracy, just another layer, and I would definitely look at that. Thank you.
David, I'm gonna start this next one with you. How do we fix legal immigration so that Virginia can attract high-skilled workers?
Yeah, this is very important because even in Southwest Virginia, they don't have the labor force to do their crops and work in the farmlands, and so that is a big issue for them. And so what we're looking at is where they can, just like I said, legally come on worker permit programs. And so these are ways that we must look at. And of course, if people want to come to America legally, then this is an option. This is what we strive to have here in our country. And if we can explain that to people, because once again, this is a common sense issue. If we can explain our point on this in a way that doesn't create people to become defensive, I think that people will start to understand that, no, we're not against immigrants coming into our country. We're against illegal immigrants coming into the country. Thank you.
I understood the question to be on skilled immigration, not general immigration in general. So, and you know, everybody says we're a nation of immigrants. I think we should be a nation of Americans. Okay? Yeah. We have a history of hating immigration. I think we're at the point now we can be a little choosy. Since you brought up skilled, I mean, we believe in market solutions, and I think what President Trump is doing, $100,000 for some of these skilled jobs with all our IT and all the opportunities, that's actually a pretty good fair trade-off for both parties. We get the benefits of their skills, and they make a lot more money than they'll ever pay in the system. So on the skill portion, I'll support that.
So I am for legal immigration, not illegal immigration. And this is the land of opportunity. So let's allow people to have the opportunities that we have today. The issue is, as I'm talking to people and listening on my listening tour across the Commonwealth, I'm hearing so many issues related to the process to become a legalized citizen. And that's what I want to try to fix. I talked to just a lady yesterday at one of the farmers markets here in the area, and she has been going through the process for more than 5 years. I've had others that I've talked to across the Commonwealth that have the same issue. It's taking so long. Why is it taking so long? Let's look at the process and let's fix the process and give people more opportunities to come here. And that, I think, will help us avoid the illegal immigration that we're seeing today.
I'll go first.
Okay. All right. What do you see as the biggest national security threat to the United States, and how do we address it?
Wow, that's sort of a loaded one, and I'm going to use one word, biological, whether it's domestic or foreign, and both of them, because biological agents are so insidious. Just look at the COVID thing, okay? You don't know what's there, easy to disperse. It'd be easy for agents from different countries to put it in a backpack sprayer. You get those on Amazon, and you wouldn't see the effects till later. But biological also covers MAHA. And Americans can be their own worst enemy when it comes to nutrition and obesity and diabetes and all this stuff. And I think they go hand in hand. Amy and I had the honor of having a dinner with a guy named Joel Saladin. Regenerative farming, okay? And I wish Fairfax County would allow me to, I won't say raise chickens, but on the other hand, I think our food supply is very important. I think Americans' health is important. And so I think it used to always be nuclear. That's the easy one. I think we made a great stride in Iran recently to lower the nuclear threat. So I'll stick with biology.
For me, I think it's the national debt. We have got to get our national debt under control, which is why I'm focusing on the efficiencies that we need in government and holding those programs accountable and being transparent to all of you. Every taxpayer dollar you spend, you should know where it's going. And so by holding programs accountable, we will be able to take those programs that are not utilizing your taxpayer dollars wisely, and let's take that money back and put it towards the largest line item in the budget, which is the interest on the national debt. By doing that, we make sure programs are effective and efficient and accountable and working for you. And at the same time, we'll be reducing the interest on that national debt, which will ultimately bring that national debt down. And we also need to make sure that your taxpayer dollars are used wisely, and that's how we're going to do it, because you'll have more money in your pockets with the lower national debt.
Well, Kim, you used mine, but I definitely, if you've heard any of my speeches when I go across Virginia, that is the first priority. Is $38 trillion in debt is unsustainable, and it's a house of cards. When you pull one, it all falls, and no one is speaking about that. As a fiscal conservative, we have to get that down, and we have to get a balanced budget. And then I would say, since Kim, you took mine, I would also then make a second one is that socialism. And you're seeing that in our young kids are starting to take on these ideals. And when you start to go down that slippery slope, that is an issue. So we have to give them real fiscal solutions, because we have the answers in this room. And that is why we have to really get out there and speak and educate them on what fiscal conservatism really is about and how we can get money into their pockets by lowering their taxes. Thank you.
Okay, that's the perfect segue to my next question. What is your plan to get politics out of K through 12 classrooms and colleges and empower parents? I'm starting with you.
Well, when it comes to children's education, I'm all for parents being involved in their children's education. It's so important. And by doing that, if parents want to homeschool their children and teach their children what they want to teach, I support that fully. I believe that we do need civics back in the classrooms. We really need to focus on our history, because one of my favorite books besides the Bible is America Born and Reborn. And we follow this cycle year after year, generation after generation. So let's use our history to teach our children, teach them civics, and help them be able to forecast and create these scenarios that work and don't work, so that they can plan their future for themselves and also for this country.
Yeah, it's very simple. We shouldn't be teaching woke, CRT, gender ideology. These are issues that parents teach morals, not the government. The government does not supposed to teach your kids in school. And that is, we have to get back to that. What you're seeing is an indoctrination, let's call it like it is, an indoctrination of the kids, because if they are leaning in that direction, then they're going to continue to vote for the rest of their lives, and the Democrats have, a flow of votes that they never have to contend with. And so we have to fight that, and we have to start early, because it used to be where it was just the colleges. Now it's kindergarten. And this is ridiculous. And it's common sense. Once again, Virginians are waking up, fortunately, and they're not going to take it anymore. But we have to get the word out there. We have to talk to people. We have to get people motivated to fight against that.
So I obviously support parents being the primary determinants of their children's education, but I think it's important for us to focus on things that we can actually do. I already mentioned it's not part of the federal government's job. The states educate, medicate, incarcerated. And it's not part of the federal government's enumerated powers. And I just mentioned that the Department of Education could be on my chopping block. But what I will say is the one thing I can do as your senator, I can help get decent, good people elected to the Virginia General Assembly where they can make the decisions and empower parents to have primary say in their children's education.
Okay, last rapid fire question before I open it up to the audience. So get your questions ready. Why are you running as a Republican?
So I would like to first comment that as a senator and at the federal level, we absolutely have a say in what our kids should be learning and what they should be learning, and we have to be able to, that's what we do. We create laws, and so these are laws that we can create to make sure. I am running as a Republican because, one, I am a fiscal conservative, and I believe in fiscal conservatism. I believe that we are the greatest nation in the world. We have the answers to the ills and the problems of today's society. We have to get strong, we have to be vocal, and we have to get the word out there. We have to be courageous. And what you're seeing right now is the Democrats are very courageous right now, and they're very motivated because it's for a hate of Trump, it's not for a love of country. Right. But as Republicans, we've always loved our families, we've always loved our country, and we have to get that back, and we have to go out and we have to fight.
I'm running as a Republican because I am Republican to the core.
Yeah.
I actually am running because I believe it's my calling in life to be your next U.S. Senator. So I put God first and foremost. I also am a fiscal conservative. I believe in fiscal integrity, which is why I was in federal government for so long, looking after your taxpayer dollars. That's why when I was the chief financial officer for the First Net Authority, $100 billion program, I actually received budget requests as a case in point, $225 million just for operations. Before I even approved the budget, I got it down to $102 million because I believe in fiscal integrity from the budget to the balance sheet to the financial statements. And I am also running as a Republican because I believe in a strong national defense. That's why I spent 16 years at Defense, and I will continue to make sure that I represent you as the best Republican I can be. And I'm, again, Republican to the core.
Yes, I'm definitely running as a Republican, but more importantly, I'm running as an American. I think we need common sense solutions. We're not going to be able to win the general election just by appealing to the Republican Party. We have independents, we have Democrats, and we're going to be able to, we're going to have to reach across the aisle. There are common issues that involve all Americans. And it's a crying shame that some of the things I had to do overseas, like taking care of borders, ensuring that people had rights and liberties. I come back to our country after 41 years in uniform, and then we're fighting for these basic common things. If you don't have a border, you don't have a country. The fact that we have to be fighting on whether only U.S. citizens can vote in our elections, deciding our leaders, and how did we get to this point? So I'm basically looking for common sense solutions. We're going to need to appeal to people who are not traditional Republicans. Some of them may be Democrats, some will be independents. But basically, Donald Trump says, I want to make America great again. I say, I want to make America America again.
Yeah.
Okay, since we're operating with one mic, I'm just going to ask you to really speak up. I can repeat the question. And just be clear if you want your question to go to one particular candidate or if you want all three to answer it. So go ahead.
Thank you very much. I didn't hear, I got in late, so I don't know if you talked about Iran or Israel. I wanted to get the three candidates' position on how they think the president's policy is with Iran. Aid to Israel, there seems to be some issues at the primaries about the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee. So can all three of you talk about that?
Bert?
Okay. First of all, give it time. give it time. I'm actually read into our Iran war plans, at least as they were about 12 years ago.
A little louder.
Yeah, a little louder.
Sorry.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay now?
Speak louder.
Is it the mic?
Just speak louder.
All right. Number one, I said give it time. I trust the president to do the right thing for our country. I do. And you have a lot of people with a lot of opinions about what's going on. And I was a newly commissioned second lieutenant when Iran took our hostages. I do not trust that regime. I do not trust the fact that we may not be in power in our country after 2028. There's a chance that the Democrats will be in charge, and it may not be until 2032 or 2036 before we have the guts to do something to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. The other thing is, we all have to admit, the people in the White House, and I just saw Senator Gorka walk in, they have more up-to-date classified information than any of us that aren't working there have. And so I trust this president to do the right thing. I don't trust Iran ever to do the right thing. So I'm very supportive of what we're doing now. And by the way, if anybody can complain about the high gas prices, it's the people who've been driving all over the damn Commonwealth every day. I've experienced it.
I agree. I think President Trump is doing the right thing. He is a businessman. He knows we've been in this situation with Iran for over 47 years. He knows what he's doing. We aren't read into what he's doing. We have an idea of what he's doing, but he's doing the right thing, I can guarantee you, for this country, because he is making America great again and getting rid of those issues that could not, that they could hold against us. And I think he's doing the right thing. Yes, we see a short-term increase in gas prices, but it's for a good cause. They're actually coming down. They were over $100 a barrel. Now they're down to $80 a barrel. So I fully support him and what he's doing. And I look forward to being his partner on that and many other issues. And because I've gotten the question, no, I have not taken any PAC funds.
So back in the beginning of Iraqi freedom, I was a young platoon commander out there running and gunning and getting the job done for you all that are sitting here today. One thing that we had, I didn't lose, thank God, any Marines during the time, but we lost Marines through IEDs, and we knew Iran was behind it. And so looking full circle now, where you're seeing what's happening in Iran, for me, it's closure. And there's one thing we have to separate the regime from the people, right? Because most Iranians are loving people. But now what you're seeing is people forget that, they're calling out death to America. They can't have a nuclear weapon, period. And so we need to make sure that we get the job done. And like everyone else has said, our president has all the information and he's going to get the job done. And we also need to support Israel.
Yes, so a few years ago we sent a girl named Barbara to Congress, and most people can't remember anything that she did. So my question for the three of you is, what are the top 3 committees that you want to be a part of, that you're really drawn to when you get there?
Okay, just to repeat for the audience, we once sent a woman to Congress named Barbara. We can't remember much of what she did. What are the 3 committees that you would want to be on? Is that correct? Okay.
Okay, thanks for asking that question, because that's the way you get things done. I do surprise people because I say I would want to be on the Senate Judiciary Committee, because the judicial branch is so important in a lot of the fundamental decisions. I've mentioned some of them. And right now, I do not trust the Democrat-appointed judges and justices. We won that referendum in a 4-3 vote, It should have been 7-0. It was such an easy way. I mean, if you remember what the issue was, it's what's the definition of an election? For God's sakes, after 250 years, you would think we would know that. So, but I would want to make sure that the judges and justices were the right ones. The second one is Virginia gets the highest per capita amount of defense expenditures anywhere in the country. I would want to be on the Defense Subcommittee of the Senate Appropriations Committee so I can help control that spending to make sure it went to the places that could do the country the most good and the Commonwealth the most good. The other committee I've served on as a professional staff member, that's the Senate Armed Services Committee. That's the one committee that gets a bill done every year. No other committee can claim that. That's why you get so much crap put on the National Defense Authorization Act every year, because everybody knows it's going to go through. And so that is one vehicle that I think will be able to enable policy for our nation. So those are the three. Thank you. Thanks for that.
So with my background, I would want to be in the Intelligence Committee because that is one of the committees that really answers all the questions to our policymakers. When I was in the CIA, that was my job, to answer foreign policy and get that information to our policymakers so that they can make informed decisions. And so we need that. We also need good individuals in the Veteran Affairs Committees so that we can protect our veterans and make sure that they get everything that they need. When you look at healthcare and suicides are up for our Marines and soldiers, and that hurts me to the core. For someone to come back, I remember when I came back from Iraq, and I mean, it does something to you in your mind because you're coming back to a peaceful place when you're coming from somewhere that was war-torn. And so we need to make sure that we're supporting our soldiers and Marines and airmen, and so that's what I would do. Thank you.
Well, keeping with the theme of zero learning curve, when I worked for the White House, I used to write appropriation language. It's an art. And so I look forward to being on the Appropriations Committee so I can continue to do what I did to save taxpayer dollars. And because I helped create 5 presidents' budgets, I would like to be on the Budget Committee because that's where I can focus on the budget line item requests and then look at how much we really should put into the budget for programs as we're holding them accountable. The third committee that I'd like to be on is the Finance Committee, because as a Chief Financial Officer, I know how to put together a balance sheet and read a balance sheet and an income statement and do the financial report, because I did those all the years that I worked as a CFO and associate CFO. So numbers tell the story, and I'll know how to read the numbers on the Finance Committee and make sure that we are looking out for every one of your taxpayer dollars.
A gentleman over here has had his hand up.
It seems clear some U.S. senators don't support the Save America Act. What would your position be?
So some senators don't support the Save America Act. What would your position be? I'm going to start with David.
We have to get that passed by any means necessary. Election integrity is paramount for the sovereignty and the American dream to continue. And what you're seeing is a Democratic Party, once again, that is trying to essentially cheat, because why else would you want the Save Act, the Save American Act? It essentially says that you need to prove that you are American or you have citizenship in order to vote. Which you need that in order to fly. You need that to get your everything. And so for me, that is a scary moment when you start to see that we're trying to not get that passed. And so Senator Thune needs to get off the gate there and just make sure that they get that passed. And I think President Trump's going to do what it takes to get that passed.
I too, whether you call it the SAVE Act or Save America Act, I too think it's critical that get passed. I mean, that's the foundation of our elections. There's nothing more important than having that passed in the U.S. Senate. And I think that it also goes to the integrity of the data that I've been talking about. We've got to have data integrity. We've got to have the fiscal integrity. But the Save America Act, by getting it passed, it ensures that integrity is in that process. So critical, and I would vote for it, absolutely.
All right, we've had this discussion. So listen, the first version was the SAVE Act. It got revised and it's the Save America Act now. But in the end, yes, to me, that's so basic. When I worked in the Senate, I was actually asked to become an expert on Senate procedure. I have a book that is this thick. And everything was done as an exception to the procedural rules of that book through this process. But what I would do, I would basically stop the cloture rules, which is the technical name for the filibuster. I would make a temporary change because the Save America Act is so fundamental to our democracy, and get that through. And then, if they feel very strongly about maintaining the filibuster, just change it back and put the onus on the Democrats. Now, we would expect the Democrats to pull the same thing. They did the nuclear option in 2010 to get Obamacare through, thinking the Republicans would never be in the majority again. So I understand a little bit of the issues, but when it comes to something so basic, the Save America Act, we have to get it through one way or the other.
I'm sorry that we didn't have time to take all your questions. The candidates will be here following the program, so you'll be able to ask them individually. So what we're going to do now is we're going to wrap up. We're going to give each candidate an opportunity to give a 2-minute closing statement. So Bert, I'm going to start with you.
Well, thank you. I thought I knew Northern Virginia pretty well since I've been living here for 27 years. But as I travel throughout the Commonwealth, I've learned that you guys are filthy rich up here, and a lot of other things, including forest and solar panels down to throw some other localities. But I had to remind these people that that's coming out of Richmond, and the last time I figured it out, the leadership of Richmond is coming out of Norfolk and Richmond itself. So thank you. So I want to get back to the Mark Warner. The difference between me and Mark Warner's leadership. You guys know what job he has in the Senate? Does anybody know? That's part of the problem. He is the chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. He was Adam Schiff's counterpart during the Russia collusion hoax. And it's not a hoax, it was outright fraud. It was a fraud on the U.S. government, it was fraud on the American people. And I'm going to basically make a bold statement here. I know more about what happened and what didn't happen during that, because I was the missing link between the Trump campaign and the Foreign Policy Advisory Team, which I was part of. I was the only one that was part of both of them. So Mark Warner allowed Adam Schiff, his House counterpart, to blatantly lie to the American public, and it led indirectly to Trump's impeachment. And I think it was a fraud on the electorate. You guys were cheated out of Trump's first term. And Mark Warner was not a leader. He basically didn't stand up and say anything. In fact, he kind of augmented what Adam Schiff was saying. And so the FBI shows up at my door on a Sunday, unannounced, saying, "You guys know why we're here?" And I said, "Not really." And they wanted to come to my house and start interrogating me. They knew I was a general. They did not know I was a lawyer. I asked them if they had a warrant. They said, "No, we don't." And I said, "Well, I'm too busy to talk to you." And their jaws dropped and they left. I said, "I'm more than happy to talk to you all about what did and didn't happen. I'll put an end to this investigation," because I was there firsthand. Instead of taking me up on my offer, I got a subpoena for 19 months worth of my private correspondence with 11 different people. And I know nothing happened. My name does not appear in the Mueller investigation because I was credible. It was all exculpatory. But you will see that as a general election issue. Thank you very much.
All right, Virginia. We're at a crossroads. We can either elect someone that's going to be able to beat Mark Warner and win this thing, finally. Like I said, last time was in 2002. The last election, if you think about it, we lost by, between Humkow and Tim Kaine, we lost by 400,000 votes. That is a lot of votes. 400,000. So we have to think about how are we going to get that 400,000 votes? I've already laid it out plainly on how we're going to do that. We are going to unite the Republican Party. We're going to get the same folks that went out to vote no. We're going to get those same individuals out. We have to get Southwest Virginia, Shenandoah in it because that's 75% of Republicans right there. We won them handedly, set by 70% in the straw poll for the 9th district. So why? Because I go out there a lot. I was out there this past week in Cambridge for a parade. And so we have to do that. The second thing is we have to get the independent votes and minority votes. Even if we get 100% independent votes, we still need to get about 15% of the minority vote. I can speak to those individuals. I speak fluent Spanish, so we're going to get the black and brown vote, and we're going to do it effectively. And the last thing is we have to get the youth. We have to bring the youth into this dialogue and get them pumped up about being conservative and show them that there's nothing wrong with having values. We have to get back to the basics here in America. And that's what I'm offering. Please go to my website, David Williams, 4VA. Join the team, and let's get this done. God bless you all. God bless everyone.
As I mentioned, Washington is broken, and I know how to fix it. We need a Virginia CPA up in the Senate. I want to be your CPA. Trump loves his CPAs, and you should too. I want to hold programs accountable. I want all the programs to be transparent to you, and I'm going to commit to a ticker so that I can show you how much money I save you by having this accountability and transparency across the federal programs. At the same time, I can relate to Virginians. I can relate to the small businesses, again, that make up 99.6% of Virginia businesses. I can relate to entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. I can relate to the manufacturers. And I can relate to bringing jobs to Virginia. The 514,000 jobs I want to bring here because we need to have cybersecurity experts to protect our country for our national security. And that helps create jobs. And again, it comes down to we create these jobs across the Commonwealth, we expand the tax base, and we make Virginia more affordable. And ladies and gentlemen, we can do it. We can totally trounce Mark Warner. As I mentioned when I began, Mark Warner only won by 0.8% last midterm election. 0.8. We got to get out there and vote. We've got to get our friends, neighbors, independents, and Democrats out to vote. And we can beat Mark Warner. It is possible. And that's why I am asking for your vote today. Please vote for me so I can be your Virginia CPA. God bless each of you. God bless the Commonwealth. And God bless America.
To our three candidates for coming today and for stepping up and running. It is an incredibly hard job. We are all so grateful for you. Thank you. Virginia is to become a part of our grassroots army. Get involved with the Fairfax GOP as a member, as a volunteer, as a donor. So a couple quick dates to keep in mind. The primary, the last day to vote is August 4th. The last day to register to vote or update your registration is July 24th. Early in-person voting is going on right now. So please make sure you vote. And finally, July 25th is when the 13 satellite locations open. So thank you all. The candidates will stick around and you can feel free to come talk with them.
Thank you.